Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is Monday, June 1st, and we are gonna play two puzzles today. If you're new here, we play Clues by Sam every day here on the channel, and it is a daily puzzle, so it changes every day. It goes from easy to hard, sometimes evil along the week, and today is a great day to start. If you've never played it before, the link is in the description. And I usually solve it along with you by explaining the logic as I go, so hopefully I can help you if you get stuck. And on Mondays, we also do a special puzzle from the bonus ones that we get on the newsletter if we subscribe to it and the website. So right here, I have the daily puzzle on my screen. And if I go a little lower here, I can see a subscribe option where we can type our email address and we'll start receiving bonus puzzles every Monday from Sam themselves. So later we do that. First, let's focus on the easy one. Let's start with Thor telling us that two of Sue's neighbors in row 3 are connected. What? Two of Sue's neighbors in row 3 are connected. Oh, are innocent. What happened there? Because I was thinking, Sue has two neighbors in row 3. Of course, both of them are going to be connected. Like, there's no way they are not. But both of them are innocents. That's so interesting what happened there. Very interesting. But now we don't need Thor's clue anymore. So we click on it and it goes a little darker. So we are not that drawn to it anymore. Olga now says that exactly two of Clyde's 4 criminal neighbors also neighbor Derek. So Clyde and Derek share two neighbors, and two of those two are criminals. So Gus and Henry, we now know, are criminals. But Olga also says that Clyde has 4 criminal neighbors total. So two more we need to figure out. Now, Henry says that Andre is one of Frida's 3 criminal neighbors. So Andre is a criminal. And I'm not dismissing Olga's clue because, or Henry's for that matter, because it's gonna remind us in the future about the total of somebody if we don't remind it ourselves of it, right? So we can just come back to the clues that we are seeing are bright white, and we know that they talk about something that we haven't finished yet. Andre now says that Derek has only one innocent neighbor. So where's Derek? Derek has only one neighbor left and he still needs one innocent neighbor, so Clyde has to be that innocent. Now Clyde says that we don't need underscore anymore, so we click that. Clyde says that both innocents above Thor are connected. So there's 3 people above Thor who could be innocents, and only one of those 3 is connected to any of the other 2, and that's Ike. So he has for sure to be one of the 2 innocents so that the second innocent can be connected to him. And to symbolize that either Eli or Penny are the second and last innocent, we tag them with a yellow and we tag the other person with the same yellow so that we know that when we make any of them innocent, the other one is going to be a criminal. So one affects the other. Now we don't need Clyde's clue anymore because we have tagged the people. Ike now says that there are exactly 2 innocents in row 1. Okay, so there's gonna be a second innocent here in row 1 among these 2 people left, Derek and Brian. So we do the same thing we did here. We tag them with the same color. And if we remind ourselves of Olga's clue, we know that Clyde has only one innocent neighbor, right? Because he has 4 criminal neighbors and 5 neighbors total. So the single innocent that neighbors him is going to be here in row 1, which makes Frida a criminal. Now we don't need Olga's clue anymore because we have the tags, so we dismiss that. Frida now says that there are exactly 2 innocents to the left of Vicky. So there's 2 people to the left of Vicky, both of those have to be innocent. We don't need Frida's clue anymore. Umar now says that exactly 1 innocent above Kita is neighboring Ike. Okay, so above Kita there's 2 people neighboring Ike. One of them is already a criminal, so the innocent has to be the other person. And I guess we don't need Umar's clue anymore. Now Joy says that 2 people in a corner have an instant directly to the left of them. So there's 2 people in a corner who have nobody to their left, right? Andre and Thor. which means that the other two people in the corner have to have the innocents to their left. And one of them already does, it's Derek. The second one is Zara, so she needs an innocent to her left. And we don't need Joy's clue anymore. But now Vicky says that only one column has exactly 2 criminals. And that column is gonna be column A. Because we know that Ike, Thor, and a third innocent who's either Eli or Penny leave Andre and one more criminal. So that's 2 criminals in the total 5 people in the column. What does that mean for us? We couldn't have column C have a second criminal, and there's 1 criminal there already and 1 person left. So that person left, Ruth, couldn't be a criminal, otherwise column C would have 2 criminals. So Ruth is an innocent. Ruth now says there are more innocents in row 3 than row 5. So we know how many innocents are in row 5. It's 4. And so far we have 3 innocents in row 5. Have I said we have 4 innocents in row 5? We have 4 innocents in row 3 and 3 innocents in row 5. So we couldn't have 1 more innocent in row 5, otherwise we would have the same number in both. And we need it to be less. So Sarah has to be a criminal, and we don't need Ruth's clue anymore. Sarah now says there's an equal number of criminals in columns B and C. So we know how many criminals are in column C, right? It's 1. And there's already 1 criminal in column B, so everybody else in that column is an innocent. And Brian was opposites with Derek, so now we make Derek criminal. Derek gives us a new clue. Only 1 person in a corner has exactly 3 innocent neighbors. Well, it couldn't be Andre and it couldn't be Derek, because both of them already have a criminal neighbor, so they won't be the person that has 3 innocent neighbors. But Sarah and Thor have to have opposites. Penny and Sue. Because whomever has the last innocent neighbor is gonna make the other one not allowed to have a last innocent neighbor, right? So the other person is gonna have to have 1 criminal neighbor. So we're gonna have to go back through the clues that we have not dismissed. We don't need Vicky's anymore. We don't need Derek's because we tagged Penny and Sue. But we have Henry's clue telling us that Frida has 3 criminal neighbors. And Frida so far only has 2 criminal neighbors. She needs 1 more and she only has 1 neighbor left. So that makes Eli a criminal, which makes Penny an innocent, and that makes Sue a criminal. So nice little chain there at the end. And we are done with the easy one. So hope that was helpful, the way I explain things. Try to be more thorough in my explanation on the easy ones, so that people that are just starting get an easier time understanding the logic. And that's also one of the things that was mentioned in the newsletter for Sam, where they talk about introducing the puzzle to new people. So trying to be helpful with that scenario, new people coming to the game. But let's jump into the hardest one from this week's. So June 1st, we have a hard one, the hardest in the puzzles that we got, but we got 4 different ones, so very nice practice. And we can restart the timer down here so we get it right. And we begin with Nala telling us that exactly 2 of the 3 criminals in row 5 are Tina's neighbors. So in row 5, there's 2 people neighboring Tina. Both of those have to be criminals, right? And we know there's a 3rd criminal in row 5, who has to be either Umer or Vince, so we tag them accordingly, and we dismiss Nala's clue. Now, Wanda says that Vince is one of Paul's 3 criminal neighbors. So Vince is a criminal, and that makes Umer an innocent, since they were opposites. And that clue also tells us that Paul has 2 more criminals neighboring him, and 5 neighbors total, right? Stain says there are more innocents in column A than column B, but we have no clue yet how many are there in either column. So we look at Umer's clue telling us that Paul is one of Katie's 3 criminal neighbors. So Paul is a criminal, and Katie has 3 as well, just like Paul does. Now Paul says that only one of the 3 criminals neighboring Frank is Clyde's neighbor. So 3 criminals is the theme for this one. But Frank and Clyde share 2 neighbors. Only one of those is criminal, right? But there's 3 criminals total neighboring Frank. Okay, how does that go for me? Because Frank and Katie share neighbors, and Katie and Paul share neighbors. If Asha and Linda both were criminals, that will be Katie's total criminals, right? Like, we know that Katie has 3, so that will make Paul have 2 and Katie not able to have any more, which would make Katie herself one of the criminals so that Paul could have 3. But that will break Frank, because we know that Frank also has 3. And one of those 3 is already shared with Clyde up here. And those shared with Clyde are not shared with Katie. So we can't have both Asha and Linda be criminals. Could both Linda and Ronald be criminals? And if they were, that will be Katie's 3. So that's okay. And that will make Katie an innocent. Now Paul has 3, Katie has 3, and Frank has room to have his 3 and doesn't have more than that. If Frank were a criminal, how would that go with Paul and Katie sharing? If Frank is a criminal, that forces Katie to be a criminal as well. Because Katie could only have one more criminal neighboring her. And it couldn't be yeah, and Paul would still need one more than what he shares with Katie, so that will make Katie a criminal. What I'm thinking is, can Asha be a criminal? Because if Asha is a criminal, that's Katie's second criminal neighbor, which means she can only have one more. And that one wouldn't be Frank, because if it were Frank, then there's no way for Paul to have 3. So her third one would have to be shared with Paul. And that will make Katie herself a criminal as well, so that Paul can have 3 as well. So that works. I guess we gotta put that together with the there are more instances in column A than column B clue. And that goes a little hard. Because in this scenario, Paul has 3 criminals, Katie has 3 criminals, which would make... Oh, but that doesn't work. Because now Frank has more. We just figured this could happen. Katie could have Asha be a criminal if Ronald is a criminal. Because now Frank has 3, so everybody else would be an innocent. But now column B has more innocents than column A. Doesn't it? I mean, it could have less... No, it couldn't. Column B has the same number of innocents as column A. So that doesn't work either. Because the same number is not less. So we need column B to have only 1 innocent in this scenario, which is not the case. So if Asha... Let's try to make Katie an innocent, because I said that worked before, right? So if Katie is an innocent, that will make Paul have to have Linda and Ronald both be criminals. And that will make Katie have to have Asha and Frank both be innocents. So that Katie and Paul both have 3 criminals neighboring them. Now, Yeah, column A is gonna for sure have more innocents than column B, even if Betsy is an innocent. But if Katie is a criminal in any way, that breaks the ratio. Because now Paul is gonna have these two be opposites, Linda and Ronald, which would give Katie a second criminal. So that will make Asha and Frank opposites as well. How does that go in terms of innocence? How can this be so hard? Am I looking at the wrong person? Can Clyde never be a criminal? It just clicked on me because if Clyde is a criminal, now Frank can't have any more than one criminal here. Or Alex for that matter. Like, Clyde is a criminal. How does Katie get her 3 criminals? With Frank, right? Because if, let me try with Alex just to make that make even more sense. Because if Alex is a criminal, now Frank has his second criminal. And he can only have 3 at most. But Katie still needs 2. So one of them is gonna have to be Ronald. And now Paul has 2. So Paul could only share 1 with Katie. Which could be Linda. Could be Linda. And that will make these 2 people innocents. Frank's also an innocent. But that works for column B having less innocents than column A. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Can I make Alex an innocent? I can. There's no really that many reasons why I couldn't. It would be beneficial for column A to have Alex be an innocent. So how does that go? Can I disprove Linda as a criminal? And if I do, how? If I make Linda a criminal, Katie has 2. So I don't think that's it. Am I missing something? Like, let me go back and see if I'm missing something. Katie has 3 criminal neighbors. 3 criminals are neighboring Frank. Paul has 3 criminal neighbors, and there are more innocents in column A than column B. So that's it. That's what we have to work with. So, can I make... I'm sure you guys already got it, and I'm just going in circles here, so this must be infuriating. I'm sorry. But I'm gonna get there eventually. The important thing is persistence, and we're gonna get there. So now, we know that Frank couldn't have both Asha and Linda be innocents. Or can they? Because if they are, Katie has to be an innocent, which forces Ronald to be a criminal, which is okay. Now Alex has to be an innocent because of Frank. And Frank has to be an innocent because of Katie. No. 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 Frank couldn't have both Asha and Linda be criminals. Because even though that works for Katie, it doesn't work for Paul. Unless Ronald is a criminal and then Katie has too many criminals, or Katie is a criminal and then Frank has too many criminals. Can both Asha and Linda be innocent? And if they are, Katie has to have both Frank and Ronald be criminals. And that works for Katie. Does it work for Paul? It does. And now Frank still needs one more criminal. Because he has one here. And Katie, that's two. That criminal couldn't be Alex, could it? I mean, it could. If Betsy is a criminal as well. Because in that way, column B, Betsy being a criminal keeps column B with less innocent than column A. So that works. But can they be opposites? And if they are opposites, I think my breaking point is Clyde never being a criminal, because if Clyde is a criminal, but how am I supposed to get there? If Clyde is a criminal, Frank cannot share two criminals with Katie. And he cannot share two innocents with Katie because there wouldn't be enough. This could happen. This could happen. Paul has 3, Katie has 3, Frank has 3. And that would make Alex an innocent. So that column A would have more innocents than column B. So that works as well. Clyde can be a criminal. I'm at a loss with where should I look. Where should I look? Should I go back to Paul having both Linda and Ronald be criminals? Because if that happened, both Asha and Frank would have to be innocent for Katie, and Katie would have to be innocent as well. And that's good, that's amazing. That also works for column A, having more innocents than column B. Can Linda be a criminal? I know I've tried this before, but just can Linda and Katie be criminals? Because if that's the case, Frank's 3 criminals are already there. And then there's no way for Katie to have a third unless Frank is a criminal. Frank is a criminal. Can I ever make Frank an innocent? Ever? Yeah, he was an innocent when Linda and Ronald were both criminals. Katie has 3. Frank has 3. So that will put more innocents in column A than column B. Can Ronald be a criminal? And Katie and Linda be an innocent? I don't see why not. I don't see why not. Then Asha could be a criminal and that would give Frank his 3. But now there's too many innocents. But now there's too many instances in column B. So how's that? Maybe. Asha can't be a criminal. I'm just not understanding how not. Because if Asha is an innocent, if Asha is ever a criminal, is that a way we can make Asha work as a criminal? Because if she's a criminal, Katie has to. And she is gonna have to share at least one criminal neighbor with Paul. So that would force Linda and Ronald to be opposites, and that would force her to be a criminal so that Paul can have 3 neighbors who are criminals. So that will make Frank have his 3. So Asha being a criminal forces Ronald to be a criminal, right? But Frank's 3 are already here. But now, Katie already has 3 as well, so Frank has to be an innocent. And now there's 2 innocents in column B already, which breaks column A, so Asha cannot be a criminal. We know that. Okay. That was terrible. I love it. Asha says that Henry is one of Linda's 5 innocent neighbors. I think Asha was one of the first ones I tried, and I just couldn't see it. Because I made Ronald a criminal, and then I thought, oh, this works. Henry is one of Linda's 5 innocent neighbors, so somebody has a different number of neighbors. Oh no, she has 3 criminal ones as well, because she has 8 neighbors total, 5 innocent, 3 criminal. So we know that Henry is an innocent. We know that Betsy is a criminal because of Henry. And yeah, 2 more criminals for Linda. Henry says that only one innocent in column A has an innocent directly above them. Okay, it is an Ume for certain. So that makes Katie and Alex opposites. Because if Katie is an innocent, she's gonna be the innocent with an innocent above her, who's Asha, which means that Asha can have an innocent above her because that will make Asha the second innocent with an innocent above them. So Katie and Alex are opposites, which gives Frank a second pair. And that makes Linda and Clyde a pair as well, because now Frank has 1 criminal neighbor, Betsy, is gonna have a second criminal neighbor in column A, and the third one who's either Clyde or Linda. So, how does that go for Linda, I guess? I don't know. Linda has 5 instant neighbors, so. What about Paul? Are Katie and Linda opposites? I don't know. Katie still needs 2 criminal neighbors who are for sure gonna be in column B, right? Could those 2? I mean, it for sure couldn't be Linda and Ronald. If we make Linda a criminal, why did I tag them with the lower tags? Upper tags, please. So if we make Linda a criminal, that would make Clyde an innocent. That's okay. But now that will make Frank and Ronald opposites. Paul would still need a third criminal neighbor, who would need to be either Katie or Ronald. And if it were Ronald, that would be Katie's third third criminal neighbor. But if it weren't Ronald, That's okay, because Katie could be the third criminal neighbor for Paul. So we are sure that Frank and Ronald are opposites. That's one thing. I don't think that takes us anywhere though. I'm so lost in this puzzle. This is funny. Can we make Katie and Linda both criminals? I guess so. I just proved that. If we do that. Katie has 3 criminals. Oh, Frank has too many, doesn't he? No, he doesn't. Katie has 3, Paul has 4. 3, Paul has 3. Linda, though. Yeah. I think we have to look at Sarah. Can Sarah ever be a criminal? If Sarah is a criminal, how does Linda work? Can Linda be an innocent? My mind is all over the place. Can Linda be an innocent? That makes Clyde a criminal. That's okay. But if Linda is an innocent, that makes both Katie and Ronald criminals? For Paul? Katie, we need Frank to be a criminal as well, right? 1, 2, 3. So Frank and Ronald are not opposites? Maybe they are not, because this works. No, it doesn't work for Linda, because Linda now has 1, 2, 3, 4 criminals. So Linda is for sure a criminal. I don't think that made any sense as I explained it, but it made sense in my head. I hope you understand. Clyde has only 1 innocent neighbor on the edges. Oh, we know that Linda is opposite with Clyde, so Clyde's an innocent. And Clyde has only 1 innocent neighbor on the edges. So Diane and Jose, who both neighbor Clyde and are on the edges, need to be opposites. Only one of them is going to be an innocent. Clyde says that exactly 2 of the 7 criminals on the edges total are Henry's neighbors. Where is Henry? Henry has Betsy neighboring him on the edge, and she is a criminal. And the second criminal is going to be either Diane or Jose, who also neighbor Henry. So that makes Olga not a criminal for sure. And there are 7 criminals total on the edges. How many do we have so far? We have Zane, Wanda, and Vance. That's 3. Plus Paul, that's 4. Plus a 5th one, who's either going to be Alex or Katie. 6 with Betsy. 7 with Diane or Jose. So Tina couldn't be a criminal either. And we don't need Clyde's clue anymore. Now, Olga says that exactly 2 innocents in column D are neighboring Nala. Column D. There's 2 innocents neighboring Nala already in column D, Olga and Tina, so that makes Jose a criminal and Diane an innocent. Now Jose says that only one column has exactly 1 criminal, and that's not column D or column B. For sure not column A, so it has to be column C, which makes Sarah an innocent. Now, we know, right, that Linda is gonna have the second criminal for her be either Frank or Ronald, which makes Katie a criminal, right? Which makes Alex an innocent. Now, Paul has his 3 criminals, Vance, Katie, and Linda, so that makes Ronald an innocent, which makes Frank a criminal. That was indeed as hard as they come. Ooh, almost half an hour. Very nice, I love it. I don't want to sound stressed as I'm doing these. I'm always having a lot of fun. I'm just kind of panicking, kind of nervous, and very focused. So it makes it hard to sound very happy doing it, but I'm always having a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you did play the bonus puzzles, and I'll see you tomorrow for more Clues by Sam. Bye bye.